Unprecedented floods strike Mecca, leaving devastation in their wake. Are they a divine warning or nature's wrath? Join us as we delve into the mysteries behind this shocking event, revealing its significance and implications. Massive flash floods have affected Saudi Arabia. Mecca's streets are flooded after a night of non-stop, intense rain. Unsettling footage of cars being swept away is starting to surface. Since then, numerous major routes have been closed and numerous weather warnings have been issued. Since Mecca has just been hit by devastating floods, this raises the question of whether people believe that these natural calamities are a kind of divine punishment. Mecca's floods have been especially destructive, seriously damaging both the city and its environs. Footage from 2023 showed the Mecca province flooded last night due to heavy storms. Storms caught pilgrims participating in the Tawa, and lightning struck a famous Mecca tower. The Holy Kaaba has suffered significant damage from recent floods, along with other damage to the city. Whereas some would see these floods as a result of divine judgment, it's important to keep in mind that a variety of factors might lead to natural disasters, such as weather patterns and climate change. Flash floods can occur in cities located in arid climates, such as AA. The annual Hajj pilgrimage puts a burden on Mecca's infrastructure due to the enormous visitors. Turning it more into a PR flop and other misfortunes, it's crucial to take the matter calmly and weigh all viable reasons before assuming it's a result of divine judgment, even though the devastation caused by the floods is terrible. The historical importance of the Kaaba in Mecca has been brought to light by the devastating rains that have recently occurred in Saudi Arabia. The subject of Islam's holiness emerges. Was there a divine retribution or a natural disaster? Storms and rain caused damage to the sacred site, causing flooding near the Kaaba. Natural calamities have happened historically, but it's important to recognize the significance of the Kaaba in Islamic culture, weighing the possible consequences of its destruction. For ages, the Kaaba has played a crucial role in Islamic tradition. Thought to have been constructed for the worship of a single god by the prophet Ibrahim and his son Ismail. The black stone, which is currently embedded in its eastern corner, was kept in the pre-Islamic Kaaba. In 608 CE, the Quraysh tribe restored it. Islamic pilgrimages have revolved around the Kaaba for centuries, with millions of people making the early Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca. In Islamic pilgrimage, the Kaaba has enormous significance. 5 times a day, Muslims all around the world focus their prayers on it, signifying the unity and the figurative house of God. The Islamic world would suffer a great loss if the Kaaba were to be destroyed. It is more than just a religious symbol, but also a reminder of the significance of Islam historically. Although the fluid's exact nature is still unknown, this emphasizes how important the Kaaba is to Islam. The importance of the Kaaba in Mecca has been highlighted by the recent floods in Saudi Arabia. For Muslims worldwide, this hallowed location is the most sacred. It's crucial to acknowledge that climate change is probably a big part of the AFF floods, and Saudi Arabia is susceptible to several natural disasters, including droughts, storms, and floods. Extreme weather events impacted by climate change are linked to the disastrous floods that occurred in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia and the Middle East are both feeling the effects of climate change, resulting in problems like dry heat and water scarcity. The floods are a sobering reminder of how urgently climate change needs to be addressed to avert such tragedies. Reducing carbon emissions and implementing sustainable practices must be done immediately. These floods have impacted the Kaaba and severely damaged Mecca's infrastructure, notably the famous tower. While inadequate infrastructure and urban planning exacerbate the effects, natural catastrophes are a contributing factor to the problem. The floods emphasize how important it is to plan and be prepared to lessen the effects of natural disasters. Natural catastrophes are made more severe by human actions such as poor waste management and low-risk perception. The Kaaba's devastation highlights the need for improved urban planning and infrastructure to prevent and lessen natural disasters. The population's susceptibility is increased by the area's subpar housing stock, whereas others would interpret the floods as a sign from God. It's critical to recognize how human activity and ill-thought-out planning have exacerbated the problem. Saudi Arabia is vulnerable to several natural disasters. Therefore, preparing ahead and being prepared is crucial to reducing the impact on the populace, as well as the places that are considered to be the holiest in Islam. The Kaaba in Mecca, the holiest shrine in Islam, has sustained major damage as a result of the recent intense floods in Saudi Arabia. This has raised concerns regarding the impact of natural disasters on Islamic pilgrimages and tourism, as well as whether divine wrath plays a part in them. The Hajj trip requires all Muslims who are physically capable of performing it to perform the trip at least once. The trip was hampered by the floods, which resulted in the closure of numerous holy sites and significant financial losses for Saudi Arabia and the tourism sector. This begs the question of whether these occurrences are natural disasters or divine punishment. The Saudi government and the international community have responded to the flooding by helping people in need and offering support. Scholars and religious authorities, however, have provided varying interpretations. Some perceive it as an indication of divine dispensation. This interpretation calls into question whether God causes natural disasters or if they are a kind of punishment. It also emphasizes how crucial religious interpretation is in determining how people and communities react to tragedies of this kind. Religious societies have debated the existence of divine judgment in catastrophic calamities for ages, whereas in other cultures, natural calamities are seen as God's retribution for human wrongdoing. Some contend that they are the outcome of natural processes devoid of divine involvement. Whatever one's perspective, occurrences like the recent floods in Saudi Arabia have the power to significantly affect individuals, communities, and entire countries. Recognizing the complexity of natural disasters and their effects on our world, as well as the role that religion plays in responding to such tragedies, is essential. Concerns over the place of faith in comprehending such occurrences have been raised by the devastating floods that recently occurred in Saudi Arabia, especially the flooding of the Kaaba in Mecca. How can the existence of natural calamities be reconciled with the concept of a loving and merciful God? Some people believe that the floods are a kind of divine retribution, while others have other ideas. Natural catastrophes, particularly flooding, are occurring more frequently and with greater severity due to factors including climate change and human activity. Furthermore, inadequate disaster preparedness and subpar infrastructure can exacerbate the effects of these kinds of incidents, increasing the number of fatalities and property damage. We may find areas for improvement and take action to lessen the impact of these tragedies in the future by looking into their underlying causes. The significance of disaster preparedness and reaction is one important lesson to be learned from the floods in Saudi Arabia. Putting money into emergency response teams and early warning systems for infrastructure can help prevent natural catastrophes and save lives. By addressing the underlying causes of environmental problems and climate change, such tragedies can be avoided before they happen, pointing the way for a future that is both sustainable and just. Faith communities have a critical role in reacting to natural catastrophes. The Kaaba is an important cultural and historical relic in addition to being a religious symbol in the event of the flood in Saudi Arabia. Faith communities have the potential to be extremely effective in helping individuals in need and in rebuilding and restoring damaged communities. Natural disasters are on the rise globally, and this is correlated with climate change. It's unclear if this is a result of divine judgment, but one thing is certain. In the face of such occurrences, resilience and readiness are essential. It is indisputable that vulnerable communities are impacted by climate change. Coastal erosion and rising sea levels pose a hazard to Saudi Arabia's coastal ecosystems and settlement infrastructure. In a similar vein, coastal cities in the U.S. Southeast are already battling flooding caused by sea level rise. For ages, the Middle East has been experiencing floods, droughts, and extremely high temperatures as a result of climate change. It's critical to realize that global cooperation and action are required to combat climate change, which impacts the entire planet. The potentially disastrous effects of sea level rise on infrastructure, economies, and communities highlight the need for international cooperation to solve climate change, requiring sustainability, readiness, and empathy priority when dealing with natural calamities. Whatever the response, the virus acts as a reminder of the value of sustainability, compassion, and readiness for natural calamities. Effects of climate change on communities that are already at risk, as well as the global increase in the frequency and intensity of enormous catastrophes, draw attention to the necessity of global action and collaboration to combat climate change. We need to give disaster preparedness and sustainable urban planning top priority as we consider the lessons from this catastrophe. We also need to emphasize the importance of faith communities in helping communities cope with natural disasters. In the end, the floods in Saudi Arabia are a wake-up call for us all to band together to safeguard the earth and its inhabitants. Because of these repercussions, it is now challenging to visit the location that Muslims genuinely consider to be their holiest place. In conclusion, the floods in Mecca serve as a stark reminder of the delicate balance between nature's power and humanity's vulnerability. Subscribe to our channel for more insights and updates.